All right, everyone, welcome to Let's Talk. This is Sunday, May 20th, 2018. So today's topic is going to be inspiration. We received a very nice question, what we thought was a very nice question from dear Lalita Mata. And so we decided just to do a short Let's Talk. We're not doing this live, we're just recording it, and then we'll post it on the YouTube and on the Let's Talk Facebook page. All right, so let's go ahead from here. Giri Maharaj, you have the dear Lalita's question there.
Yeah.
Go ahead and read it through twice. You know, it's a little bit lengthy kind of a question there, so go ahead and read it twice, will you please?
Sure. So, you're right. Everything is a matter of inspiration in our Krishna consciousness. Devotion comes from the soul, not from matter or the mind. So someone whose inspiration is to not take Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura to the letter, or Srila Sridhara Maharaj, could argue that it is their inspiration. They are following their heart. Then, what would you say to such a person? You are following your heart, I'm following mine. Why attack my position? How do you demonstrate that you are thinking according to the parampara, and therefore the other person may be deviating? I'll read it again. Everything is a matter of inspiration in our Krishna consciousness. Devotion comes from the soul, not from matter or the mind. So someone whose inspiration is to not take Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura to the letter, or Srila Sridhara Maharaj, could argue that it is their inspiration. They are following their heart. Then what would you say to such a person? You are following your heart, I'm following mine. Why attack my position? How do you demonstrate that you are thinking according to the parampara, and therefore the other person may be deviating?
All right, well, first off, we're not attacking anyone's position. If anything, we're defending our own position. So, because with a lot of the controversial matters, it's very often said that we are in the wrong. We are quoting our Shiksha Guru, Srila Sridhara Maharaj, for example, the issue known as Sri Asuka, which we wrote articles about, and so forth, and we established the position of Srila Sridhara Maharaj according to Shastra, according to what he said, and we were not willing to accept a very, very different interpretation from another group of devotees, and then we received the title Maha-Aparadis. They were allowed to present their case, so to speak, defend what their guru had said. But when we came up with definitive explanation by what Srila Sridhara Maharaj had said, and in this particular case, I'm thinking back many years, that particular guru had said that that Sridhara Maharaj was his Shiksha Guru, so we pointed all these things out, and we pointed out that their version of the story of the Sukadeva Goswami being the parrot of Radharani, this was not true. This is not in any of the bona fide Shastras. We showed that this was actually a creation of the Sahajiya section. Then, of course, we were then stripped of our rights to stand up for ourselves and for what our guru said, and we were declared to be the Mahaparadis. Give the dog a bad name and then shoot him.
Yeah.
So we're not attacking anybody. All right. So, but this topic is about inspiration. So I thought, well, you know, sometimes there's a problem. We begin to talk about Gaudiya-siddhanta in the English language, and the English language isn't all that great a language in one sense. There are many words in the Sanskrit language, and there are no equivalents in the English language. And Srila Prabhupada has pointed that out, that the English word, the Sanskrit word bhajan, is usually translated as worship in English, but actually these things are not the same, but this is the closest we can get to bhajan in English is the word worship. Similarly, many scholars have pointed out today, Sanskrit scholars, that the word soul, S-O-U-L, which is still used to mean Atma, this is not adequate. It's no more adequate than worship is for bhajan. Soul is not adequate for Atma. And you may notice, or of course you notice, but anyone who has read our edition of the Bhagavad Gita will see that we did not use the word soul. We use the word unit of consciousness, meaning Atma, a unit of consciousness. So I'm not saying there's a fault. Srila Prabhupada did use that word, soul, extensively, and that's fine. That's all very good, and there's no need to change it. However, some contemporary writers may choose to use something a little more accurate. Anyway, so words, yes, word meanings, things in English. So Giri Maharaj, I asked you to look up this morning, and I believe I have a copy of that here. We did a little bit of research into different words and whatnot, and so we looked up the word inspiration. Because we're discussing here inspiration based on Dear Lalita Mata's question. So inspiration, would you go ahead and read, Giri Maharaj, the Webster's Dictionary, English Dictionary, or Oxford Dictionary, meaning of the word inspiration, and let's see where that takes us from the English, see where it goes from there.
Sure. So the definition in the dictionary, it says, the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. A sudden, brilliant, creative, or timely idea. Then another definition is the divine influence believed to have led to the writing of the Bible.
Okay, so let me just interrupt here. So the process of being mentally stimulated, that is more of the modern concept, and it has to do with creativity, to create something. But it is also mentioned here the divine influence believed to have led to the writing of the Bible. Well, that's another subject, question mark. How divine is the Bible, and where did that inspiration come from? That's another topic for another day. But we have two types of inspiration here. One deals with the mind and creative, artistic, poetic, and so forth, or political doctrine inspired for freedom of all men and women, etc., etc. So there's, right there in the beginning, Webster or Oxford tells us, okay, we're going two directions with this. So then I believe, okay, we have here the origin. Where did this word inspiration come from? Language has origins. Where did it all come from? So, Gary, want to please continue reading there?
Sure. So the etymological meaning of inspiration comes from Middle English. Middle English is about between the 11th century, I think, and 15th century. So Middle Ages, basically. So it says, via Old French from the late Latin inspiratio, or from the verb inspirare. It's from Old French inspirer, from Latin inspirare, which means breathe or blow into. The word was originally used of a divine or supernatural being in the sense impart a truth or idea to someone.
All right, so this is the inspiration that we're speaking about, the divine inspiration. Now, we also went and looked up the Sanskrit grammar equivalent for inspiration, and that was the word sanchodhana. Sanchodhana means inspiration.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now, sanchodhana may be used to mean spiritual inspiration or poetic inspiration, artistic inspiration, but we did find that if one wants to emphasize the divinity of such inspiration as being, as in God sent, or inspired divinely, then the word divya is added, and we have divya sanchodhana. Divya sanchodhana. That's divine inspiration. So, dear Lalita Mata is saying, someone may say, well, I follow my heart, you follow your heart. And so, this expression, follow your heart, this is true. This is true to Bhakti, and I'm going to read in a moment a nice quote by Srila Sridhara Maharaj, where he says that the flow of the heart, the Bhakti of the heart is above and superior to the intellect. Although Bhakti Yoga is also called, what is it? The yoga of the intellect. What is it? What is the Sanskrit for that? I forget.
Rajavidya?
No. That means king of knowledge. I'll think of it in just a minute. Anyway, I hate it when I forget these things. All right, but the first I want to say that follow your heart. This is also a very New Age. We have Middle English from the Middle period, the 11th, 12th century. That's called Middle English. And we also have what's called New Age English, and that's kind of a New Age expression of follow your heart, and its co-partner is if it feels good, do it. So that can be very dangerous. Follow our heart. We've been following our heart for a long time, and that's why we're still stuck in this material world, life after life, wandering throughout many species of life in the universe, following our heart. So we might. I'm going to read this portion of Srila Sridhara Maharaj first. Let me just read this first, and this supports the concept of follow your heart. All right, so Srila Sridhara Maharaj says, the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more of heart than intellect. More of heart. It's more about the heart than intellect. I continue with Sridhara Maharaj. We should always consider this. The intellect must not check the free flow of the heart. So there you have it, the free flow of the heart. We must always remember that. Free love and free faith are the only things, the most valuable things for which we have come out of our own house and joined the mission. This purity of purpose should always be kept intact. Of course, some help from law and regulation is necessary, but not so much as to check the growth of our vitality. We must we must promote vitality. The real spirit, the real purpose of the mission should be given first hand. All right, so the free flow of the heart, this should not be neglected. And then Sridhar Maharaj mentions, but some law, some regulation. Now this is especially in the beginning. Why so? Well, to a certain degree, our heart may have brought us to the lotus feet of our guru, or to the lotus, to the extended mercy of our guru in the form of his mission. Our sincerity has brought us there. At the same time, our insincerity may have brought us to some institution of a false conception. Let's just wrap that and say the Sahajiyas. All right. Everyone is guided by the Supersoul. Krishna is guiding the wanderings of all living entities through many, many lifetimes and rewarding their desires accordingly. So, in the beginning, let's say the sincere soul is guided by the super soul and comes to a bona fide guru, bona fide institution, and so forth. What happens there is, well, the super soul guides you to there and kind of, in a sense, drops you off now, you see. Now you're in school. Now there's some regulations that you have to learn to follow. There are some laws. There's something to learn. There is knowledge, bhakti jnana, all of these things. And there is a process. Ado shraddha sadhu sangha bhajana kriya and artha nivritti. First, we are brought to the company of the sadhus. In the company of the sadhus, we hear many things and we begin the process of purification, and we hear, do this, don't do that, follow this, don't follow that, this is the correct understanding, this is the Siddhanta. At that stage, one accept, that's called Bhajana Kriya. And then in Bhajana Kriya, there is initiation. And by following the process of initiation, rules and regulations given to us by the Guru, our philosophical or Siddhantic understanding, then one approaches the plane of a Nartha-nivritti. Prior to Nartha-nivritti, if you try to return just to follow your heart, that can be a problem because the heart is contaminated with so many anarthas. So purification is absolutely necessary before one can absolutely, completely rely upon the heart. But one's heart should not bring one in contradiction to the Shastra. One's heart should not bring one in contradiction to 3 or 4 generations of previous acharyas in a particular Siddhanta. And she's mentioned, did she mention Bhaktivinoda?
Yeah.
Yeah, so dear Lalita's mentioned following Bhaktivinoda or saying that Bhaktivinoda Thakura invented the philosophy or such things like that when previous acharya, but then subsequent acharyas have never even vaguely indicated this, and have gone at great lengths to support, you see, the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So, inspiration should not put us at odds with our spiritual master. That type of inspiration may be very well a product of Maya, a product of just the mind, a product of intellect, a product of pride, a product of lack of attention. You cannot just say, I follow my heart and therefore my heart tells me such and such. No, that has to also be supported by Shastra, and that has to be supported by one's Guru. So what happens is sometimes people find in the old Shastra, they find something that apparently contradicts their Guru. And this would be the case if someone says Bhaktivinoda Thakura invented the philosophy of the Tatastha Jiva. Well, Sridhara Maharaj certainly didn't say that, and he went to great lengths to explain the compulsion that may be created if there was a complete or perfect discrimination in the marginal plane, and he described other things also, the influence from outside, which may cause one to some outside influences and such things. He went into great depth and detail. Srila Puri Maharaj backed that up. Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj backed that up and emphasized that our success is not to create and reinvent, not to change the books, but to follow very, very closely in the footsteps. And I remember when this debate came up, and it wasn't a debate, it was a conversation about, and someone said, well, Sridhar Maharaj was just carrying the party line. He wasn't, giving the pure Vedic, or, Siddhanta, he's just following the party line. And my reply was, well, you know what, if Sridhar Maharaj was just following the party line, I'm going to follow the party line, because it seemed to have done very well for him. And Srila Prabhupada commented that his realizations were so high that if the average devotee were just to hear him and actually understand the depth of his Krishna consciousness, we may faint. It may leave us absolutely speechless. So if that's the party line, why disturb the party? But I don't think it's the party line. It is the party line, and it is the correct understanding, because our research has shown that no one in history, anywhere, in any sampradaya, our own or outside, has gone into such detail as to explain the origin of the jiva, the tatastha shakti, and the anadi karma. No one. And so instead of walking away from that, we're saying stick to that. If you're a follower of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, if you're a follower, disciple of Sridhar Maharaj, disciple of our Prabhupada, if you're in the line of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then stick with what Bhaktivinoda has to say, and don't be distracted by intellectual inspirations. Do not allow the intellect to interfere. Okay, anything can be argued. That's the nature of this world. The other party has plenty to say. They're not stupid. They're not speechless. They have so many things to say. But our point is, we're following our Guru Varga. We're in the Bhaktivinoda Parivar. That means the family of Bhaktivinoda. We follow Bhaktivinoda Thakura. We follow Bhakti-siddhanta. We follow our Srila Prabhupada. We follow Srila Sridhara Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj, and have great respect and recognition for many of the disciples of Srila Bhakti-siddhanta. And we recognize who were the deviants also, who deviated from Srila Bhakti-siddhanta, and how they deviated. They became victims, Maya, of their own intelligence. They became over-intelligent. Srila Prabhupada uses this word, over-intelligent. Intelligence, Buddhi Yoga, that's what I was looking for, not Jnana Yoga. Buddhi Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga is also called Buddhi Yoga, because it is the yoga of our intelligence. But that leads us to the highest plane, Raganuga Bhakti. And in Raganuga Bhakti there is also some sadhana, but the highest end of Raganuga Bhakti is the absolute free flow of the heart in love of Krishna. It is not dependent on any rule, any regulation, any shastric injunction, or anything of anything. But pretty much that stage is reserved for the next life. Not the next life in this world. The next life out of this world. You know, what does that say? We say, well, in this life the salary isn't much, but the retirement's out of this world. So in retirement, out of this world, these things will be understood more clearly, and to try and put them in our fist, in our grasp in this lifetime, that is also that's also a mistake. Puja Mattara Harijana Kirtara Range Puja Ragapati Gaurava Bange. Keep the highest things at a distance. Once a god brother offered me, he said, would you like to know? He said, I know Srila Prabhupada's name in eternal Leela. Do you want me to tell you? And I said, no. When Prabhupada wants me to know, he'll tell me. So I said it like that because I thought, well, maybe, but I have my doubts. In which way you may know this. That's another topic for discussion, Srila Prabhupada's name, as well as Srila Prabhupada's position in eternity. Srila Prabhupada's rasa, quite a heated debate in the past years, in the past decade or so, amongst certain devotees. Of course, many devotees do not entertain such thoughts or inquiries or interest at all, but another large number of devotees do, and they've come toe to toe, head to head. Is Prabhupada in Madhurya Ras, or is he in Sakya Ras? Is he a gopi? Is he a cowherd boy?
Is he Prahlad?
Oh, that one wasn't even worth getting in the argument, but that was there too. I ran into that Prabhupada was the incarnation of Prahlad. I thought, okay, whatever, all these things are certainly motivated, I would say, by some degree of sincerity, but then one should know one's limits, and one should know one's limits of what one should even discuss about one's own advancement. I mean, advancement must be there, otherwise why are we wasting our time? But at a point, it is advised not to reveal your bhajan. I should have looked that up, but there's some verse suggesting do not reveal your bhajan. Don't make it publicly.
Narasingha Thakur says that.
Narottam Das Thakur. Because what happens is it will vanish and it will be replaced by pride. You see. So Srila Prabhupada did speak personally about his rasa. We'll get into that. That's a very, very, very super beautiful topic to discuss. And the various opinions, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's opinion on that. Srila Puri Maharaj also, without any prompting, dittoed what Sridhar Maharaj had said in regard to Prabhupada's rasa. But, this debate continues to go on. Anyway, that's for another topic. But I think to stick close to dear Lalita's question, yes, inspiration or realization. Here, I'll give you a personal example. And it's not like, this doesn't boast anything about my realizations or anything. It doesn't reveal anything. But I was living in Vrindavan in 1991. I was staying in Gopinath Bazaar, and I was staying in the Mahaprabhu temple there, what they call the Amiya Gauranga.
Yeah, Amiya Nimai. Amiya
Nimai temple, which is managed or owned by the Padmanabh Goswami from the Radha Raman temple, a very good friend of mine for many decades. So I was staying there in that temple, and in that temple there is a painting of Mahaprabhu's Sannyas Leela, and it's just above the darshan door of the deity. Now, I should have got that picture. Maybe I have that picture right. No, where is that picture?
It's on the
it's on the cover of this book.
Yeah.
Where is it? The Golden Volcano of Divine Love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a painting. It's a painting of the Sannyas Leela of Mahaprabhu at Katwa, right? And if you've ever read the narration of Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas, wow, at Katwa. And in this painting, it's just full of so much distress. The artwork of painting Mahaprabhu is very, very nice, but as you get into the people in the painting, look at that guy there on, let me see, look at this character, where's he at? Look at this guy here. He's not anywhere near anatomically correct. His head's twisted, his gut's all twisted, and you look around this picture and it just kind of falls apart. It looks like distress. The great tragedy of Mahaprabhu's sannyas at Katwa, which unfolds over 3 days. And from where my room was, I would sit and look at the deity, but just above the deity of Mahaprabhu, there was this painting, and I was seeing it every day for hours and hours. It was always there, even when the door was shut, and seeing that painting. And one day, I just had the thought, premonition, something like that this looks like when the chariot has come to Vrindavan to take Krishna to Mathura.
Mm-hmm.
And the narration that I have read, not basing on the paintings that I've seen of that, but the narration I have read on that, and the great distress and anguish and such that the gopis were experiencing. They were throwing themselves on the ground in front of the chariot, trying to stop the chariot. And I see here that people are throwing themselves on the ground. They're pounding their chest. They're lamenting. They're grieving. They're in great anxiety. And I thought, this Mahaprabhu's taking sannyas. This is the parallel Leela to Krishna leaving Vrindavan. And I thought, yeah, right, but who am I? It sounded good, thought good, felt good. But before I took it and swallowed it and accepted that I was on the right track, I thought, maybe I better check this with, some of my authorities. And I was happy to find out that, yes, it is the parallel Leela. So I'm just using that as a personal example, that if we have what we feel is something very deep or something divine, something inspired, well, instead of just taking the ball and running, We might check to see if we're running in the right direction. You see. And if what we have understood is an absolute contrast and actually goes against the preaching of our spiritual master, our spiritual masters, our guardians, our parampara, then we might reconsider, And if we're supporting this because scholars said, people who have rejected Bhakti-siddhanta and Bhaktivinoda, they say, and they have their old book understanding, but they've rejected the contemporary saints. We consider that Sridhara Maharaj and Prabhupada and Bhakti-siddhanta and Bhaktivinoda, they're okay. They're right there with Narottam Das Thakur. I don't think the six Goswamis would reject their association. See, the thinking is, back then there was all these great souls. But since then, well, no, there's not, Oh, yeah, that's Sridhara, And then people say, oh, yeah, that's Swami Maharaj. They don't recognize Prabhupada, his preaching, his achievement. These people do not recognize Sridhara Maharaj. They will recognize Bhakti-siddhanta. So if that is one of your backup references, well, I'm sorry, but I think then unfortunately on this, at least on this particular issue, you have been blindsided. So it's more advisable to stick close to the conclusions of our spiritual master, the conclusions of the previous acharyas. Yes, there is some space for disagreeing and everything, but on what way and how? A fine little point here or there, like it's pointed out, the Shastra itself disagrees. Sometimes Varaha is white, sometimes he's red. So which is he? Well, the fact is he's in some kalpas he's red, in some kalpas he's white. A white boar, a red boar, The debate about Advaita and the beard. People say, are you following the Advaita Sampradaya? It's like, yeah, Advaita had a beard his whole life. When he was 9 years old, he had a beard. He was born with a beard. He always had a beard. And he always had long hair, right? All right up to his old age. But we find references, Mahaprabhu used to call him Baldy. Yeah. He would taunt him because he was bald. So, if maybe he was bald-headed and had a beard, I suspect sometimes he had a beard, sometimes he didn't have a beard. Well, the whole debate was going on a few years ago about Advaita's beard. Does he have a beard or he doesn't have a beard and whatnot? But it was pointed out that other than the ISKCON temples, which was directed by Srila Prabhupada, in all the other temples, Advaita doesn't have a beard, except one, and that is, Giri? It's one of the Sahajiya groups.
Yeah, the Bowels. The Bowels give them a beard.
The Bowels, the Bowels, which are one of the Sahajiya groups, they show, their preference is to show Advaitacharya with a beard. Yeah. So Prabhupada's preference was to show him with a beard. But that it's just like Prabhupada says, put a peacock feather on, that's another topic, but put a peacock feather on Mahaprabhu. But the fact is Mahaprabhu didn't wear a peacock feather. But he's emphasizing that Mahaprabhu is Yuga Avatar, he's Krishna himself. Deeper than that, he's Radha and Krishna combined. Nityananda's Baladev. But Mahaprabhu didn't wear a peacock feather. So once I remember discussing with one of my friends who was an acharya after Srila Sridhara Maharaj, I was discussing with Govinda Maharaj in the mutt, and I just said, I knew this debate was going on. I wanted to see what he would say. So I said, so Mahaprabhu didn't wear a peacock feather. Why is that? And he leaned forward and he said, because there are no peacocks in Navadvip. And until they were brought in from outside in a couple of zoos around Mayapur, peacocks are not indigenous to Mayapur. Mm-hmm. But deeper than that, we can understand that Mahaprabhu would not ornament himself in that way, which is the probably biggest signal of here's Krishna, you see. And therefore Prabhupada chose that. But only the, what are they called? The Gauragaris? What are they called?
Yeah, Gauragaris.
And they present Mahaprabhu as Krishna the enjoyer, and they put the peacock feather, you see. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it depends. Peacock feather, no peacock feather, beard, no beard, turban, no turban. These are, these are smaller things. Also, there's the naming. Srila Prabhupada named deities like Radha Parthasarathi. A Parthasarathi means the chariot driver of Arjuna. Yeah. And some people have taken big objection to that. Rukmini, for example, Rukmini Dwarkadish in Los Angeles. Anybody listening who's ever been to Los Angeles Temple goes in, looks at the Radha Krishna deities, and then asks Bajari, what are their names? And their names are Rukmini Dwarkadish. And that really ruffles some feathers. Anyway, we'll get into those discussions at a later time. So these are things, these are small things, adjustments, things that happen in the preaching field. They have their localized purpose. To teach something to the Western devotees. New Dwarka. Why is it called New Dwarka? Well, one, it was the most opulent temple in the world at a time. It had the most opulent deity worship at a time, and it just so happens to be on the west coast of the United States. That was the most western place that Prabhupada went to preach. After that, it was back to the Orient, back to the East. Well, then Hawaii came later, but that came later. New Dwarka, western coast. Where's Dwarka in India? It's on the most western coast of India. These are relative things. They're not fixed in eternity. They are implementations for a particular purpose. But to go back and argue that Bhaktivinoda invented this whole philosophy just to adjust some problem that Westerners have with something or other in the understanding of God and suffering, not so, because he presents this as the more in-depth understanding, and not as a temporary or not as a localized adjustment for the furtherance of the preaching. So it's very hard to find where you have adjustments in the Siddhanta, inventions in the Siddhanta. If it's an invention in the Siddhanta, it's not Siddhanta.
Well, you pointed out before, a preaching strategy has a strategy. What is the strategy here?
Right. Yes, like Srila Prabhupada marries his disciples. Well, he does something sannyasis haven't done. This is a strategy. He opens farms.
Right.
Mahaprabhu didn't say open farms. Okay, it's a strategy to show the Varnashram and Daiva Varnashram to the world, to set some example, how cows should be protected, how food should be grown, how everything belongs to Krishna, how society can be happy and peaceful in Krishna as the center. This is a preaching strategy. The dioramas created by Bhakti-siddhanta, the magic lantern show, the showing of the first slide projections on a big screen. These are all, what'd you call them? What'd you call them again? Strategies. These are all methods and such things. The diorama exhibit, Srila Prabhupada took that up in a very big way in the West, the dioramas in Los Angeles and everything. Mahaprabhu didn't say make dioramas. He didn't say open farms. He didn't say make slideshow projections. He didn't say make a Hare Krishna movie and put it in all the cinemas around the world. But Yadabar just did. So these are things to spread the holy name, the glories of the Sankirtan movement, the glories of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas and all these things. Mm-hmm. So you can see the results there. I find it very hard to say this is Bhaktivinoda Thakura invented the whole thing. If Sridhar Maharaj said he did, I'd accept it in a heartbeat. But he didn't. He even went a little level deeper, and he explained this thing of compulsion. Mm-hmm. Deep thinking. So are we to assume that Sridhar Maharaj is deep thinking on something that doesn't exist? Then that's not deep thinking. That's Maya, you see. So anyway, we reject that completely. So follow your heart. First follow your guru. Follow the guru. Follow the guru parampara. Follow the Shastra. And don't think that you can jump all the way back to the 4 Vedas, to all the way back to the Vedanta Sutra, and all these things. Mahaprabhu suggests be careful. Be careful about this Vedanta Sutra, especially Shankar's commentary. Because you know what? He's smarter than you are, and pretty soon he'll have you sitting in his camp. So there are dangers out there. Sridhar Maharaj called it the jungle of Vedic literature, the jungle of Vedic knowledge. The jungle is not a safe place to be roaming about, you see. So first, follow your guru, follow the Shastra your guru has given you, and it is more important to follow in our sampradaya. It is more important, although we don't separate it like that's not important, but it's very important to pay very close attention from Bhaktivinoda Thakura onwards. Yes, we refer back to Vishwanath, we refer to Sanatan, Jiva, Rupa, and other supremely divine literatures. But we also put some of those literatures aside. Why is that? We put Gita Govinda aside. Why is that? Because Srila Bhakti-siddhanta said, keep that aside. You see. Ujjvala Nilamani, Gita Govinda. There are other... Excuse me?
Krishna Bhavanamrita.
Yes. There are books written by the 6 Goswamis that are not recommended reading for the average devotee. So, what do you think of yourself? Average, above average, super above average? And this also was an issue some years back, you know. There is also a list given by Bhaktisiddhanta of bogus books. Completely bogus books invented by anti-party, written up by Sahajis to attract the Gaudiyas. Completely bogus. What's one of them we always mention about Advaita Chart?
Advaita Prakash.
There's a book, Advaita Prakash. At one point I saw this for sale on the Hare Krishna bookstores online. I saw it for sale in Vrindavan. It was everywhere. People were buying up, sucking up the nectar. But Bhaktisiddhanta lists this as an, what's he called? Upagrantha?
Apagrantha.
Apagrantha. False Shastra. A false literature. It is not written by who it's claimed to be written by, nor is its content harmonious with the Gaudiya-siddhanta. Oh, it's got all the presentation of Chaitanya Bhagavat, just super, really, nectar, Prabhu. But in that nectar is poison. We'll discuss that book in detail. What is that poison? Which, when you accept this book and you declare it as nectar, you just cut the spinal cord of your sampradaya. That's how insidious it is. But the average devotee just doesn't even know what he's reading, doesn't know what he's consuming. Therefore, very important to stick to the example, the literature, the siddhanta that's given to us by our immediate preceptors, our param gurus, going back to Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And if we have that in proper order, and we can verify what our heart tells us with the Shastra, then we can follow our heart. But if we're at the stage of filled with so many contaminations, or we have allowed intellect and overintelligence to dominate the heart, then that follow the heart may put us in a plane of deviation, or at least in a plane where we don't want to stay there. Not good. Not good. All right. So, anything else to add to this, Giri?
No, that's. I think you said everything. Thank you.
No, I don't think I said everything. There were some things I wanted to say, but I have this habit now that things just jump out of my mind, and I don't remember them so well. But that quote that we read from Srila Maharaja about free love and free faith and the heart's flow, this is from what chapter? That was from the...
That's from the Sri Guru in His Grace, Chapter 8.
Sri Guru in His Grace, Chapter 8. Again, very important book for all devotees of all classes to read and understand. All right, so we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you all for watching. Giri, thank you for your participation. And we'll talk to you all later. We're going to be off Let's Talk for about a week. I'm going to be traveling, so in about 10 days from now, we'll get back on. We have a long list. I think we have a list of at least about 50, 75 very interesting topics that we want to discuss here on Let's Talk. So thank you very much. And if you're watching, please send us your questions, comments, give us a thumbs up, subscribe on YouTube, and do all that stuff. And Hare Krishna.